Hi, welcome to Spiritual Connection. I'm your host, Katie Augustyn. So I'm a transformation coach, I'm an energy healer, I'm a shamanic practitioner, and I'm a spiritual leader. And I started the Spiritual Connection show because connection is one of my core values. So I wanted to share that with a wide audience. And it's really about connecting with each other and the guests that you're going to meet on my show, but also connecting more fully with our own spiritual natures. So I'm happy to have you with us today. So my guest tonight is Michelle Didner.
Hi, how are you?
Michelle, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. So Michelle is a yoga teacher. She's a certified holistic health coach. She's a mother and a writer. And she told me she turned to yoga for healing and balance about 18 years ago after being diagnosed with breast cancer. So she's lived in Argentina, Switzerland, and that's where she taught classes in international communities. And she sees her practice and work as really confirmation that yoga brings us home no matter where we are living or what we are living through. I love the way you said that. Yeah, so welcome, Michelle.
Thank you.
Yeah. So first, would you tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey so far?
I guess my spiritual journey probably began when I was very young. I didn't grow up with any formal religious studies. My mother had a yoga practice when I was very young, and she was spiritual, but we didn't go to church or practice any religion. But when I was in my 30s and my son was born and then I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I found myself feeling a bit lost and frightened, and there was a feeling of abandonment that I felt as if my body had somehow turned against me. And it felt very isolating. And it was at that time when I was struggling with post-surgery and chemotherapy and radiation that I needed to find something that could support me to make me feel more at home in my body. And I happened to find this beautiful yoga studio in Westport, and I started taking classes there. And the classes were very gentle, and I felt very supportive and safe there. And so that's when I started to realize how powerful our connection with our experience of being in our body is. That our spirituality isn't just something that is outside of us, but it's rather how we experience what's our journey, how we're experiencing our life, how we're experiencing the journey of actually being in our bodies, and how that transforms us.
Okay, so it was more an inward journey for you.
Yes, it was more inward than outward.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And did that help you discover what about yourself, or what was the process?
I guess the process became more one of feeling a sense of connection with myself, which somewhere along the way it had shattered, or I had lost a connection with myself. And so I found with the practice of yoga and meditation that I was able to bring myself back to that connection with myself, and in doing so, I was able to more clearly connect with other people around me.
Wow.
Where I couldn't as easily do that before.
Yeah, that does sort of resonate, because it's the more clear we are and the more content or connected we are to ourselves, that way we can give to others.
Exactly.
So it's like we can receive and give.
When our vibration is in a place of, when our vibration is low and we're in a space where we don't feel happy or healthy, or if we're tired and depressed, it's very hard to make connections with other people. But when we start to honor ourselves and what makes us happy, and we start nourishing ourselves and respecting ourselves and loving ourselves, all of a sudden we find that It opens up our connections.
Isn't that amazing how that works?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that something that you were aware of before, or was this all new territory?
I wasn't aware of that. I definitely discovered it on my own. Yes.
Yeah. And did other people enter into your journey at that point? I mean, or were you still pretty much navigating your own way?
The journey just kept continuing. So, I mean, there have been so many people that have entered into my journey along the way, amazing teachers, amazing friends. Many, many people entered that they all brought something to the journey in some way. I don't know how to, there's not one specific. Everybody that came into my path somehow helped.
Yeah. Help further you
further
on your
it along.
journey.
Exactly.
And influenced you.
Yeah.
So at what point did you realize that this was going to become your passion and your life, really? Because you're a yoga teacher now.
I am. I think it was probably after we had moved to Switzerland. I felt very isolated there, and I found myself connecting with another yoga teacher, and we started yoga classes there for our children were at the international school, so we started yoga classes for the international community that we were connected to there. And then it was amazing because people would come into we were renting studio space, and they would come in, and people would reconnect. That they were all expats, and they would walk in and they'd find themselves meeting someone that they had known 8 years ago in Singapore, or so the class became more than just an asana practice or a meditation class. It actually became a place where people would come, and
awesome.
And everybody would leave afterwards and go have coffee together.
Wow.
Yeah, so it
you
really
built a community.
Yes, it was really great.
What a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
Huh. Having been able to carry that forward, just not literally the same people, but the whole idea of it in your practice now?
I guess I see that level of connection now among different studios where I teach. I think to have a private practice at home is a beautiful thing because it's yours and it belongs to you, and it's very intimate. But I do think that coming together in community and practicing together and breathing together, it takes it to a different level. Your limbic system actually starts connecting to the vibration of the people in the room, and you actually do start holding the space for one another. So it can really elevate the experience. And I think there's a need. I think a lot of people now feel very lonely. And I see that people are really hungry to put down their cell phones and take an hour and step into a space where it's just about them, their breath, the other people in the room. They don't even need to know their names or where they come from, but you're all there together. And I think there's a real need for that right now, and I see that in my classes, and yoga has become so popular, and there's so many yoga studios now that are opening, and I think that's why.
I hadn't really thought about that, Michelle, but I think you're onto something.
So even though, and there is that moment where you just sort of feel yourself connect with yourself, and then you feel more connected to everyone around you, but then you also somehow feel more connected to everyone outside the studio, outside the room. Yes.
The planet.
And
the
even
world.
if it's for just one moment, that can be enough to nourish you for the rest of the day. It doesn't have to be that you walk around feeling like that all day long, because that's impossible.
It's probably not going to happen.
And it's not going to happen. But it just needs to be that one moment, and that's big enough to feed you for the day.
So that's really sustainable. I mean, it sustains you for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I think this is really important that people know this, because a lot of times we think we're too busy to do anything, right? I mean, I know I wake up with the intention of whatever it's going to be, meditating that morning or that afternoon, and then somehow your day gets away from you.
Exactly.
But if you knew that it would be a short period of time, an hour, but
And an hour
wow.
seems like a lot. And for a busy mom who has to
Yeah.
wake up and get her kids on the bus, or if somebody commutes into the city, it's a commitment. I mean, one of the classes I teach is at 6 a.m.
Really?
And, it's the same group of students that come to it. And,
Ah.
they really make the time. They're there at 6 a.m. and they work, they're teachers, some of them commute. But, it's really important to them.
Yeah. Well, I think that, like you said, it's a commitment, but also to make it part of your routine, because that's what works for me. Is if I have the same class or the same whatever it's going to be every Tuesday morning or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're right. There's so many yoga studios now that it's really accessible,
It's very accessible.
which is great.
And you don't have to be very flexible. You don't have to stand on your head.
No,
You don't have to
no.
do any of that. If you can breathe, you can sit in a chair, you can do yoga.
Yeah, I can attest to that because I'm not very flexible. And years ago when I was kind of nervous about, trying yoga, and everybody told me I would love it, and I'm like, let me just see about it, and I hesitated and I was nervous. But I thought, you know what, I don't have to do it exactly like all the other pros in here doing it, or the teacher. It's just a matter of just trying it.
It's just a way to get closer to yourself and know yourself better. And you do get more flexible. And if your back is hurting, your back does start to feel better. And if you're having a pain in the arch of your foot, all of a sudden you do feel it start to. So on so many levels, it helps. It undoes the knots.
Some
exactly.
some kinks or some knots.
Yeah.
So how would you recommend someone getting started, for example, if they wanted to try yoga?
I think the best thing to do is to find a studio where they have classes for beginners with very well-trained teachers and instructors. You have to like the environment at the studio. Studios have different characters and
vibes.
different vibes. I think it's really helpful to take a few private lessons. One-on-one with a teacher that can really work with you and see how you move, how you organize your body, where you might be stronger, where you might be more flexible, and how to find balance in your body, and to modify certain poses so that if you do go into a group class, you already know how to modify for your own body. You might have an injury or something that's going to be different from the person next to you.
That's a great idea.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that if they took 2 or 3 private sessions, it would really open up the practice for them, and they'd feel a lot more confident walking into a group class.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That never occurred to me.
Yeah, no, it's...
Because that way it can be individualized.
Exactly. And the teacher's looking at your body for an hour and modifying and adjusting and being very specific, and you can ask questions.
Yeah.
And you never move past what's appropriate for your level. And I think that's the safest way to start a yoga practice, injury-free.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Do most yoga studios offer, do the teachers offer private lessons? I never
they all
really
do.
noticed that. I wasn't looking for it, but...
Yeah, they do. They all do.
Okay.
So it's really something that I would definitely recommend.
Okay.
Yeah, I teach private sessions with a lot of yoga studios here in Fairfield County. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for the suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you can think of that might be helpful?
If you're starting your own, if you're
just beginning.
Not to have high expectations, just to have fun, and just enjoy the experience, and keep an open mind, and hopefully leave a first class or a second class feeling better in some way, whether it's feeling a little less anxious, feeling a little stronger, feeling a little more confident, feeling a little happier. You've released some endorphins.
Yeah.
Just noticing a shift, just noticing how, if you feel better afterwards. I mean, hopefully.
You should notice something.
I have to be really honest.
Yeah.
I teach many classes, and I don't think, I'm trying to think if I've ever had one student leave that actually said to me or seemed or appeared to feel worse after they practiced than before they arrived.
That's a great track
I
record.
don't even think, I'm actually trying to think of one person
So you haven't
that
had
came
anybody
up to me and said, I actually feel worse now than I did when I got here.
never coming back or anything, right?
Yeah.
So you've never had anybody get up and walk out of the middle of your class or anything?
Well, I've had that happen, but
That would be unusual, right?
but for another reason, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they weren't feeling well or.
Yeah, that's great. So I think that, how would you compare, you're talking about the endorphins and how you feel better after a class to like a regular exercise class, if you will? Like,
I think the difference is in the relaxation response. Mm-hmm. Well, there's different types of yoga classes. You can take a power yoga class and a vinyasa flow class, and those are going to be very intense physically. And then you can take a class that's going to be more focused on the relaxation response and the connection neurologically of how your brain connects to your body and how your breath makes the connection between your body and your brain. And the focus in yoga is on the breath. In general, the rule is every movement has an inhale or an exhale. And that focus brings you inward so that you're really paying attention to what's happening within you. And that's what makes the yoga different. You're really being aware of how you're moving. It's not how you look, it's how are you feeling, how are you breathing, what is the experience feeling like in your body.
Okay.
And not every, it can be challenging to understand that or to get that, but once people do,
yeah, I don't think I ever
it's
got
a
to
real
that
shift.
point.
It's a real shift then.
Yeah, I'll have to try it again.
Yeah, you should come
take
to
one
one of
of
my
your
classes.
I think I'm going to do that. Sounds perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would enjoy it. But, I would want to do really more of a beginner, I think. Even though I'm not, I feel like that's what I would want to start with.
I think that might be a good idea, but I also, I take beginners classes because it's really important just to come back to the foundation of a pose. And the definition of having an advanced practice is knowing yourself and knowing how you move and being responsible and aware. That's what defines an advanced practice. It's not, what it...
The moves themselves.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, then in that case. Yeah, it sounds like it is a lot about self-awareness.
Exactly.
Which I have worked on. I never feel like I'm there yet, but it is something I practice.
I'm sure that you would have a really beautiful experience because you already, work with breath and connection and spirituality. So it'll just reinforce all of the things that you already cultivate in your life.
Yeah, super.
Yeah.
So that'll be definitely want to do that, Michelle. Yeah. So I know. You said you're also a certified holistic health coach.
Yes.
What is that about? What do you do?
So I studied with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition because I wanted to better understand how nutrition affected our mood and our body and our health. And it was a very interesting journey because it reinforced all the things that my yoga practice had already taught me, that health is more than just what you put in your body and you eat. It's what's your relationship to yourself? What's your relationship to your work, whether you're a parent or you have a job in an office? What's your relationship to your spirituality, which is a very important component? And what's your relationship with your community and your friends? So nutrition isn't just what you're eating. You could eat the healthiest diet in the world with no chemicals, all organic, but you could be an extremely unhappy person, and you're basically not
healthy,
not living a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
So.
I get that.
It was an interesting journey. We learned a lot about all the different diets that are popular and the different nutritional attributes to each type of diet. And we also learned that not one diet fits one person. So it goes back to the yoga. You have to pay attention. How do you feel when you're eating and you're rushing? How does that make you feel? When you're eating a lot of carbs, how do you feel afterwards? All of those aspects. It's again going back to paying attention. So what's your background? Are you Northern European? Are you Asian? Because that's also going to affect your genealogical background. Might affect whether or not you can eat dairy or not, or so.
Wow.
And now, of course, with all the gluten-free and all of the allergies to wheat, and a lot of that has to do with the pesticides. So it is, then it becomes more of a macro situation where a lot of people are being affected by what's happening politically in the community and how our food is being produced. So nutrition is a pretty broad, new field, and you really have to kind of navigate it on your own in a lot of ways.
It seems very individual.
It's very individual. And then there's every year a new diet comes out and everybody throws themselves into it, but it's very individual. What's right for one person isn't going to be right for the next person.
Yeah.
And it might be right at one point in your life, and then you might reach a different point in your life, or you might find that you're under more stress or less stress, or different factors are going to enter into your life that are going to change your nutrition needs.
Yeah, and also age.
Age.
Which I'm becoming familiar with.
There's hormones. There's so many reasons why paying attention to yourself is your best diet, so to speak.
Right. This formula.
Yes.
So how do you go about working with clients? Do you have like a survey? And
Yeah, you start out talking to them, asking questions, learning about them, and then they start to follow they keep a food journal, and then you just bring them through certain structured programs of learning about adding things into their diet, taking things out of their diet, and just kind of playing around with introducing, maybe they're not drinking enough water, maybe they're not sleeping enough. There can be, and then just introducing ways that they can eat healthier by maybe introducing, rather than saying, no, you can't eat one thing, maybe just offering more options, here, like fill your plate with this instead, and then you're not going to be as hungry for rather than, whatever we can't have becomes the delicious treat that we want. So just working in that kind of way, and just having coaching and staying accountable. It's much easier to stay accountable or to stay on track when you have a coach and you have to show up and.
That's very true.
Yes.
Yeah. So do most people come to you because they have some issues health-wise, or they just want to be the best they can be?
Most people, it's just they want to either lose weight, or they want to feel healthier, or they want to have more energy. I don't work with a lot of special diets like diabetes or any type of diets that are more specialized.
Or restrictive or something.
Exactly, where it's more medically based. I work with people more just to create a feeling of balance, better energy, better nutrition.
Yeah, so they just feel better and they can be more productive or more healthy, or just have a better life, I guess.
Or you're just to feel better.
Feel better.
Yeah.
So do you work at all with like nutritional supplements or anything, or is it just all about?
I don't work with, no, because that would be, I would send to a nutritionist to do a whole blood workup, and then they would be able to tell you where you might need to add things in.
Yeah,
or
it's like if there's a deficiency in
exactly.
some area.
And I don't have a degree. I don't have that degree where I can actually. Yes.
Okay, so you're more with the food combinations and what works and what doesn't work. And
exactly.
I got you.
Yeah.
And do you add an exercise component to that, to their?
Definitely. Yeah, based on what they need and what fits their lifestyle and
like what their goals are.
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, that's like looking at the big picture.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
always looking at the picture, always looking at the person holistically, looking for balance.
Yeah, well, that sounds great. Really, I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of really interesting work that you do.
I do.
You seem very happy and passionate about it.
I really am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Are your kids into the yoga at all? I was
No.
just curious about that. Because you said your mom practiced
No, they're
it.
athletic. They play sports, but they're not. No.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, maybe when they're adults or...
maybe like I did.
Yeah, you
way
kind of
afterwards.
gravitated towards that
Yeah.
with your mom. Does she still practice? Is she still...
No.
No.
Yeah. So, but I am also doing another exciting thing now. I've teamed up with 2 other women, and we're doing workshops and seminars
Oh, cool.
for women to find balance and self-care. We are offering financial as well as legal as well as self-care and nutritional advice for women that are really busy, and to create balance so that they can feel more empowered to make decisions for their life in all areas of their life.
Yeah, talk
So
about
expanding
holistic.
out even more. So I'm
Yeah.
really excited about that. We're going to have our first workshop on November 28th at Wakeman Town Farm.
Uh-huh.
So that'll be really exciting, because now we're taking it even to another level of,
Yeah.
self-care and it's not just what you eat, it's not just your exercise, it's also, what are you taking care of, where are you financially, are you aware of
Yeah, your financial health is
and
really
your budget,
important.
and what types of things do you need to do to take care of yourself practically
Uh-huh.
as well.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, so that we're really excited about. We just
Yeah.
started
Wow,
that,
I think that's
that
awesome.
collaboration.
Yeah. So connection, collaboration.
Yes, yeah.
That's really cool. So you see more of that for the future?
I hope so. Yeah. I think I like to see everything. I like to see all aspects of someone's life integrate, because they all affect one another.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah, that's great. And you're thinking about, I think you told me the other day about doing a retreat, or you're...
Yes, I'm leading my first retreat this weekend in Stratton,
Oh,
Vermont.
this weekend.
It's the fall equinox
Okay.
retreat. So I'm leaving tomorrow morning. I'm very excited about that.
Okay.
I'm guiding it for the first time,
Uh-huh.
and it's
And
going
you're partnering with somebody on that as well?
No, I'm actually doing it on my
Uh-huh.
own. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're going to hike, and we're going to practice yoga on the mountains, and we're going to be staying at this lovely bed and breakfast, and yeah.
Sounds like really a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Yeah.
A lot of self-care, skill building, taking time out from, they're all the women that are coming are very busy, taking time out from their life for
Wow.
themselves so that they can go back feeling more grounded.
Oh, that's perfect. So
Yeah.
a real getaway for the weekend.
Exactly.
Come back feeling refreshed, and it's like you get a whole new lease on life.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
well, good luck. I really, sounds really like a lot of fun. How many people do you have going?
I have about 6 going, so it's nice.
Oh, that's like the perfect size.
It is. It'll be great. Yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really glad that you were able to come on. Is there anything else
you.
that you would like to share with our viewers?
I don't know.
Anything else in the works, or?
No, I mean, right now I have the workshops. I'm trying to do more retreats, more traveling retreats, if that works out for me. I'd really like to do that. I think it's really important. Wellness vacations are a huge...
Oh, right. Those are very popular.
Very
now, right?
popular. And it's also, I'd like to do more wellness retreat vacations for women, because it's nice for women to travel together, and then they feel safe traveling together, especially if it's,
Cool.
to foreign countries and
Right.
resorts, and do more yoga retreats for...
Well, we'll look for that.
Okay.
So we're going to put your contact info
Thank you.
up on the screen, so
Thank
people
you.
can contact you with any questions or suggestions or anything. So have your website and I think your email address up there, so they'll be
Thank
able
you
to
so
contact you,
much.
Michelle. Well, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having
really
me.
great
This
to
was really
see
fun.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thanks, everybody, for joining us on this edition of Spiritual Connection. I'm your host, Katie Augustyn, and you can reach me through transformationcenterct.com, or my email address, which is transformationcenterct@gmail.com.